Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls around the world. Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you all snuggled up and ready for another Lights Out bedtime story? Well, you're in for a treat tonight, because tonight's story is one of over 300 on this podcast, all for you to listen to ad-free forever. And we're about a third of the way to our mission of 1,000 stories for boys and girls around the world to listen to as they drift off to sleep. And as a huge New Year thank you to my 2,000 plus Spotify fans, I'm giving away 2021 copies of each of my books to say thank you to all the followers and likers and subscribers to this show. It wouldn't be what it is without you all. Now, back to the story, because it's all about the story. Tonight's story is called The Twits by Roald Dahl. And this part is part 17, The Great Upside Down Monkey Circus. Once upon a time. Now, for the monkeys. The 4 monkeys in the cage in the garden were all one family. They were Mugglewump and his wife and their 2 small children. But what on earth were Mr. and Mrs. Twit doing with the monkeys in the garden? Well, in the old days, they had both worked in a circus as monkey trainers. They used to teach monkeys to do tricks and to dress them in human clothes and to smoke pipes and all the rest of that nonsense. Today, although they were retired, Mr. Twit still wanted to train monkeys. It was his dream that one day he would own the first great upside-down monkey circus in the world. That meant that the monkeys had to do everything upside down. They had to dance upside down, on their hands with their feet in the air. They had to play football upside down. They had to balance one on top of the other upside down, with Mugglewump at the bottom and the smallest baby monkey at the very top. They even had to eat and drink upside down, and that is not an easy thing to do, because the food and the water has to go up your throat instead of down it. In fact, it's almost impossible, but the monkeys simply had to do it, otherwise they got nothing. All this sounds pretty silly to you and me. It sounded pretty silly to the monkeys too. They absolutely hated having to do this upside-down nonsense day after day. It made them giddy, standing on their heads for hours on end. Sometimes the 2 small monkey children would faint with so much blood going to their heads. But Mr. Twit didn't care about that. He kept them practicing for 6 hours every day, and if they didn't do as they were told, Mrs. Twit would soon come running with her beastly stick. The end. Part 18, called The Roly-Poly Bird to the Rescue. Mugglewump and his family longed to escape from the cage in Mr. Twit's garden and go back to the African jungle where they came from. They hated Mr. and Mrs. Twit for making their lives so miserable. They also hated them for what they did to the birds every Tuesday and Wednesday. "Fly away, birds," they used to shout, jumping about in the cage and waving their arms. "Don't sit on that big dead tree. It's just been smeared all over with sticky glue. Go and sit somewhere else." But these were English birds, and they couldn't understand the weird African language the monkeys spoke. So they took no notice and went on using the big dead tree and getting caught for Mrs. Twit's bird pie. Then one day, a truly magnificent bird flew down out of the sky and landed on the monkey's cage. "Good heavens!" cried all the monkeys together. "It's the Roly-Poly bird. What on earth are you doing over here in England, Roly-Poly bird?" Like the monkeys, the Roly-Poly bird came from Africa and spoke the same language as they did. "I've come for a holiday," said the Roly-Poly bird. "I like to travel. he fluffed his marvellous coloured feathers and looked down rather grandly at the monkeys. For most people, he went on, flying away on holiday is very expensive, but I can fly anywhere in the world for nothing. Do you know how to talk to these English birds? Muggle asked him. Of course I do, said the Roly-Poly bird. It's no good going to a country and not knowing the language. Then we must hurry, said Mugglewump. Today is Tuesday and over there you can already see the revolting Mr. Twits up the ladder, painting sticky glue on all the branches of the big dead tree. This evening, when the birds come to roost, you must warn them not to perch on the tree, or they will be made into bird pie. That evening, the Roly-Poly bird flew around and around the big dead tree, singing out, There's sticky stick stuff all over the tree. If you land in the branches, you'll never get free. So fly away, stay up high, or you'll finish up tomorrow in a hot bird pie. The end of Roly-Poly Bird to the Rescue. That's part of Roald Dahl, The Twits, Part 18. Here on the Lights Out Podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls around the world. Thank you for listening to this amazing story, and you can find over 300 more on this podcast, ad-free forever, part of our mission to have 1,000 ad-free stories for boys and girls around the world. And to download some free books of mine, just visit martynkenneth.com, martynkenneth.com, to download one of 2021 books to be read aloud at bedtime. Good night.